Wimbledon hangover? It was hard not to wonder after watching Roger Federer leave the court for back treatment before losing for the first time to Grigor Dimitrov on Tuesday night. That unexpected scene in Arthur Ashe Stadium came 48 hours after Novak Djokovic winced and retired from his fourth-round match while trailing Stan Wawrinka because of a left shoulder problem. Federer received an extended round of applause in defeat. Djokovic regrettably was treated to quite a few boos for cutting the evening's entertainment short by fans who ought to have remembered all the grit he has shown in recent years. But the thread running through both their setbacks was the great Wimbledon final in July. It was the match of the year and one of the matches of this golden era, a grass court test of concentration that bordered on meditative before developing into a thriller as Djokovic saved or Federer blew 2 match points, and Djokovic then prevailed in a newfangled fifth-set tiebreaker at 12 games all. But there will be no rematch in New York, which now has a tough act to follow without the same cast. Sustaining excellence and health through an entire tennis season remains quite a challenge, and though Federer is now 38 and playing for gravy, the reality is that he has fallen short in New York for more than a decade now. Clay might be his weakest surface, but he won his lone French Open title more recently, in 2009, than he won the United States Open, where all 5 of his victories came between 2004 and 2008. He has reached 2 finals here since then, losing in 5 sets to Juan Martín del Potro in 2009 and in 4 sets to Djokovic in 2015, another occasion when the Ashe Stadium crowd got nasty with Djokovic. Since then, Federer has not made it past the quarterfinals at Flushing Meadows despite all his success on hard courts in Melbourne, Cincinnati and other parts of the world. It is as if he runs out of steam and inspiration here even if the public is doing its best to be his muse. I think hard courts are more difficult for him the further you get into the year, said Paul Annacone, Federer's former coach, in an interview last week. It's hard to be fresh because of the cumulative effect. It's age and the fact that it's 3 out of 5 sets, and you are 9 months into the season. All that stuff plays into it. I also think the courts have not been very quick the last few years, so that makes it more work for him. They speed up during the tournament, but they are gritty and take spin. The slicker they are the better they are for Roger. But they were speedy enough for Federer to blow past number 15 seed David Goffin, a player who can usually handle a torrid pace, with the loss of just 4 games in the 4th round. Federer seemed to be gathering momentum for the stretch run, but the US Open has long had nasty surprises in store for him. There was Djokovic's brilliant, caution to the wind forehand return winner to save match point in the 2011 semifinals. To lose against someone like that, it's very disappointing because you feel like he was mentally out of it already, Federer said in what was not one of his finest post-match moments. Just gets the lucky shot at the end, and off you go. There were the humid, unexpectedly still conditions in Ashe Stadium last year that changed his image as the man who doesn't sweat in a 4th-round meltdown against the 55th-ranked Australian veteran John Millman. He comes from maybe one of the most humid places on earth, Brisbane, Federer said then of Millman. I knew I was in for a tough one. I was just happy the match was over. On Tuesday, it was the back, a recurring weak point that Federer has had to manage for more than a decade. Federer acknowledged that something went wrong in his upper back as he prepared to face Dimitrov. But Federer was still functional enough to win 2 of the first 3 sets and threaten to close out the victory in the 4th while maintaining service speeds close to his tournament averages. But Dimitrov was intent on extending the rallies and the games to push Federer physically. He succeeded, and Federer faded for good after going off court for treatment, losing the first 4 games of the 5th set and then the match, 3-6, 6-4, 3-6, 6-4, 6-2. I tried lots of things, but whether I was hurt or not hurt or in pain or not in pain, I would have done the same things, Federer said, emphasizing that he was sometimes playing too far behind the baseline. This is Grigor's moment, not my body's moment, he said. If you can fault Djokovic, it is that his decision to retire mid-match here ensured that it was going to be his body's moment more than Wawrinka's moment. But Djokovic, 32 and back at number 1, played through elbow pain for too long earlier in his career. It contributed to the slump that knocked him off the summit of the game in 2016 and 2017 before he finally chose to have surgery in early 2018. Federer has not retired from a match in his professional career, one of the more remarkable statistics in sports. His last retirement was in his junior days. But he has withdrawn during pro tournaments, most recently at the Italian Open this season. He, too, understands how important it is to think long-term, and nobody in the men's game has been as successful for so long since Ken Rosewall was winning major titles in his late 30s back in the early 1970s. Federer intends to push on. He said he will stick with his scheduling plans for the rest of 2019, including the Laver Cup in Geneva later this month, and then head to Australia again in January. But it is only getting harder to envision him ever hoisting another US Open trophy, only getting harder to imagine that he and Rafael Nadal will extend their rivalry to the only Grand Slam tournament where they have never played. General admission tickets for their charity match on February 7 in 55,000 Cape Town Stadium in South Africa, sold out in minutes on Wednesday. But New York fans are still waiting. It looked like this was finally the year until Dimitrov, ranked 78th but so much more talented than that, finally managed to summon the chutzpah to defeat the champion who inspired him and shaped his elegant, all-court style. Nadal, the last of the big three still standing at this Open, will have to content himself with chasing a 19th major singles title, which would close the gap with Federer's record to just one.